Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Eden's Gem. I hope you've been able to listen to our past episodes, but if you haven't, please, they are linked up above somewhere on this channel, and you will be able to get it. If this is your first time coming across this, thank you for taking the time to listen. If you are a returning listener, thank you. And for those that have subscribed and hit the notification button, thank you. I see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm grateful that you take the time to do that. Listen, how many of you have been learning alongside with me? I am very much excited that God has put me on this path to discover Eden's gem. Listen, I've taken this so seriously. Let me show you what I've been doing. See, oh, I can't even lift up my arm. It's like workout. See these books right here? That's how much. It's all about historical nature of gems and different uses of gems, and I'm discovering a plethora of information. I'm super excited that you are journeying alongside with me to discover what it means to be a gemstone and how we, as God's creation, are seen in the eyes of God as gems. So, when we talk about gems, it's literally the short form of gemstones. The last few episodes, we've kind of looked at what is gemstones. One episode, we ask ourselves whether we're granite, we're mud, or we're gem. And it doesn't matter what you and I identify ourselves with. The most important thing that we found out in that episode is that we are clearly able to tell who we are, what we are, and what we're made of, right? And so today I want us to delve in based on the last episode. We read where the Bible talks about gemstones. And if I can't remember very correctly, that was in Exodus chapter 28, when God had given instruction to Moses to establish the tabernacle and how the priestly order was going to go. So God told Moses to anoint his brother, his older brother, Moses' older brother, called Aaron, as high priest to serve in the temple or the tabernacle at that time, along with his sons. Now, you know, God is a very detailed God. In case you're wondering, look around the world, look at the universe, look at the earth. You and I will be able to tell that this is not what other people think that is a Big Bang theory, that something just fell out of the sky or out of the ground or whatever they call it, but it was uniquely crafted and uniquely and methodically engineered and curated by someone. You and I, as Christians, believe that that someone is God, right? And so, with that same meticulousness that God created the earth, when you read from Genesis 1 and 2, that He was very methodical to do it in a systematic way. Whereas, whatever is needed for day two, He made sure that He created it in day one. So I want us to look at the first mention of gemstones in the Bible in relation to the high priest as not something that was an afterthought, that God was very intentional to tell Moses how to create the outfit that the high priest was going to wear to present before him in the Holy of Holies. Right. So last week we read from Genesis 28, verse 17 downwards. And this time I've taken time, if you know me, I'm really big into research and just finding out the why behind things. So one thing that I came to discover while I was looking in detail as to the gemstones that was put on Aaron's outfit or his priestly robe or garment, the chest, right? So we looked at it. Why was it particularly on the chest? Why was it not at the bottom of his clothes? But why the chest? So that is what sent me on this quest to dig deep in and then also to find out why those 12 stones in particular. Why that order? Why did God say it has to be threes in a rows of threes and then four to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So 3 by 4 is 12. So there were 12 stones, each one specifically and clearly named as to the order that it needs to go and how it needs to be, not in a circle, not in a rectangle, but God was very specific. So I took time to look at various versions, and it seems like it was contradicting itself based on the names of the stone. But I remember last week I was sharing that I had read a deep account of a professor of emeritus. I don't remember off my head right now what university he does his research, but this professor has dedicated his work to the studying of biblical archaeology, specifically in the times that the Bible was written and the area where the Bible or biblical people at that time were living is where he does his archaeological studies. So, what he discovered and said, and I will link up his name so that you know I'm not making this up. His name just escaped me, but it's in actually one of these books that it's right here. But what he discovered is that is not like the names are different, but as gemologists are evolving and they're studying, they are sometimes changing the names based on the era, but the stones are the same. So it's not like they were changing based on version. So real quick, I'll give you an example. Okay. I have four different versions that I wrote down here. So the New Living Translation lists the stones as this: red carnelian, pale green peridot, emerald. So the first three, that's how they list it. And then turquoise, blue lapis lazuli, and then white moonstone. So according to, if you're paying attention, right, we're going to delve deep in the next few episodes. I'm going to take it three by three because what I intend to do is not to overload us in these episodes, but to make it very precise so that we can listen on the drive, kind of get what we need to get and go. So we're going to take it three by three in the next few episodes. The second list of threes that the New Living Translation lists is turquoise, blue lapis lazuli, and white moonstone, like I said. And then the third row is orange jancet, agate, and blue amethyst, or purple amethyst, sorry, is what the New Living Translation. And then the last row, it says blue green beryl, onyx, and green jasper. So that's how the New Living Translation listed. The next version that I looked was the Amplified. And so you would think when the New Living Translation says red carnelian, that's how every single version is going to list as well. But this is how the Amplified listed. The first three, the Amplified says ruby, topaz, emerald. The second three sets of stones is turquoise, sapphire, and diamond. So right here, you and I see the difference. That the New Living Translation doesn't say ruby as the first stone listed, but it's very clear that it's some type of red, which we've come to know ruby as red, right? So it listed as red carnelian. But then the Amplified says ruby. The second stone, according to the New Living Translation, is pale green peridot. But Amplified's next stone is topaz. The third one in the New Living Translation is emerald. But the Amplified also lists it as emerald. Then we get to the second row in the Amplified and lists as turquoise, sapphire, and diamond. But the New Living says turquoise, blue lapis lazuli, and then white moonstone. So if you and I are familiar a little bit with the colors of the gemstone, you know that sapphire is a blue stone, right? And so when the New Living Translation listed as a blue lapis lazuli, it is basically the same thing. It's just new errors give it a different name. It's not a different stone. It's just the same. And then the third is jancet, agate, and amethyst, which is pretty much the same as is listed in the New Living Translation. And it goes on. The Message Bible also listed as carnelian. So it seems like the newer versions of the Bible uses carnelian instead of ruby. So that kind of made me question what is happening. And looking at the study from this professor, it now made sense to me when I went back to the numerous books. Let me tell you, I've been doing deep research on this. When I went back to the numerous books today, this is what I want us to take away with. And then the next episode, I will pick the first three stones and explain it a little bit more. So, gemstones in the past were identified by color. So, any stone that we saw that was red was called ruby. If the stone was green, it was labeled as emerald. If the stone was blue, it was labeled as sapphire. But as the world is evolving and technology is coming and knowledge, as the Bible says, is amassing, stones now are being looked upon and investigated not just because of the color. That's how now we know that diamonds can come in different colors and not just the crystal clear color that we're familiar with diamond. I'm sure you've been come across that some people have yellow diamonds, pink diamonds. I've heard before. So now, as opposed to just identifying a stone by its color, stones are now under intense research and identification, being labeled based on their composition. Composition means they're classified in a certain group, right? And then based on the minerals that's identified in, or the quartz that's identified in, or the crystal, or how they reflect light and what light it attracts. That's how stones are now identified. So, no wonder the Amplified and the King James would use something like sardius or ruby, but the newer versions, which has caught up to recent research based on the etymology of stones being based on composition, are now using carnelius as opposed to just ruby. So I know that's a lot of information. So we're going to kind of wrap up here and then take it and look at why God now picks up three stones, stone by stone, in what particular order, based on the composition of the stones, the rarity of the stones, and the preference of the stones, again, in my opinion, in relation to the 12 tribes of Israel. I hope this episode blesses you. I hope you subscribe. And if you haven't shared it, I don't know what you're waiting for. Share it, because people need to know that as gems, there is a reason why we're very unique in our own ways. God bless you.